we go. We're here. Good evening, gentle viewer, and welcome. My name is Tag Lyons, and tonight I'm hosting this very lovely cast in a game of Raefenheim. More on that in a second, but first, quick question. Can you tell that I made a little script for myself so I don't forget stuff? Because I can. Let's say hello to my wonderful guest, though, before we get into any of the specific things. Let's go sort of counterclockwise as far as you appear on my screen. So to my, well, to me it's my left. We have Taylor.
Hi. Am I introducing myself now?
Yeah,
or
go ahead.
am I just saying hello? Hi, I'm Taylor. I
Strong
use
start.
she, her pronouns. And I play tabletop games. I play a lot as a DM. I play a lot as a player. Tonight I'm a player, which is fun, different from what I usually do on Twitch. And I also stream on Twitch. That's me. Hello.
Then we have Arielle.
Hi, I'm Arielle, and I use she, her pronouns as well. Just starting to get into some tabletop RPGs and games. It's a lot of fun. I really like playing with this crew of people.
And then Xaverie.
Hi, I'm Xaverie, she, her. And I tag along when I'm allowed. when they let
When
me.
you're allowed!
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us have ever actively gone out of our way to ask Xaverie to join a stream. She just kind of meekly texts us and says, "Can I play too?"
Hey guys, what you doing? Anything new?
And we always say, "No, it's the same shit."
You're not allowed.
Well, okay.
There we go. I fixed our chat box while I was listening to you lovely people. There we go.
Hooray.
The stream's going great so far. And then, last but not least, of course, to my right, we have Mace.
Hello. My name is Mace. I use she, her pronouns. And I have done... I'm realizing that this music is now the national anthem. Sorry. That just threw me for a huge loop.
Yeah, call it out. That's probably good.
Anyway.
We have to start the stream with the national anthem.
I hope you're all standing.
We all have to stand and put our hands over our hearts.
School again. Love that. But anyway. I have been on a couple of Real Felicity streams, how I met this whole group, and I am so thrilled to keep doing spooky games based on literature, my favorite shit.
As I said before, we're playing a game called Raefenheim tonight, which is written by me. It's a short one-page game inspired by the Gothic literature of the 18th and 19th centuries. Things like the Castle of Otranto, your Draculas, your Frankensteins, your Jane Eyres. In this game, one person, in this case again me, plays as the estate and controls the crumbling, distant Castle Raefenheim as well as its inhabitants. The other players, who you've just met, and I immediately lost my place, make characters based on archetypes in the genre who are exploring the mysteries of the castle. We'll explain the game a bit more as we go, but for now what you need to know is that the last master of Raefenheim, Countess Corvina, has been dead for 11 years, and the castle has been left empty, save for the crows she once kept as pets, who have overrun the place. And speaking of... Yep, there it is. We have a new channel point reward available in the form of crow sounds that you can help add some ambiance when it feels right. I will say, as I did the other day when I first added this, be cool, everybody. But they truly are in every room of this place, so there's not really much in the way of wrong times to do it. Just one last thing before we get into it. If you would like to, you can influence the game a little bit while we're playing, while giving a little support to our lovely players. You can redeem bits, which are Twitch's currency, to do just that. For 100 bits, which is $1, you can give a player a +1 bonus to a roll. For 200 bits, you can let a player redo a bad roll, or you can make them redo a good roll if you're feeling spicy. And for 500 bits, which is $5, the crows will get a little mischievous, and we'll just find out what that means. Any tips you send are going to be split evenly between the 5 of us, and also we'll be very grateful to you, so isn't that a nice bonus? Now that that's, I think, all of the things I wanted to cover. I think I actually hit it all. So now that the business is done with, get comfortable. Get hydrated. Take a deep breath. It's time to begin. In far-off land of slate-black sky, the Countess in her castle died. 11 years since her last time within the walls of Raefenheim. Corvina's death a mystery, though few would call it tragedy. In life her love was e'er reserved for her beloved black-winged birds. In every chamber, room, and hall of Raefenheim you'll hear their call. Ezra, if you would.
Yes. In this sort of empty manner, anyone who listens extra carefully could hear in some patched together, gentle but very quiet, almost like a whisper of a corner of the castle, hidden from everybody except the birds that are left and one stowaway, and they could hear the following. There now, let's try again. Ready? Ezra. 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 Your turn. Don't be shy. Think of how envious they'll be when you're the first one to speak, though I don't suppose you have to say Ezra if you don't want to. Try this one. Corvina? Oh, someone! Shh! Just a maid, I think. Close call. No more lessons for today. If it had been the cook, we could keep practicing, but you'd better be off before someone tries to shoo you back upstairs. Oh, thank you for the presents. I'll tuck them somewhere safe. Good night now. I'll see you at breakfast.
Then Ravenna.
To the keeper of Raefenheim Castle, I'm writing with much delight that I will be returning to the castle after these long years. I remember fondly my time spent in those halls. My time there was peaceful and full of spirited youth. With the arrival of the new inheritor of the castle, I pray there will be many more days of youth gracing the ballrooms and garden. Goodness knows the grounds need it. Such darkness has befallen it since the passing of my beloved Corvina. My charge Lucy will be accompanying me to the grounds. Please be sure the best comforts are provided to her, as, if all goes well, she will be the new lady of the house. I kindly request fresh roses from the garden, and if arranged, small cakes served with tea, as we will be very weary from our journey. For myself, please have some furs and a soft cushion and some strong coffee. My old bones cannot take the chill castle drafts any longer. With respect, Lady Ravenna.
Domino.
You're muted.
Yeah. I heard the news. Here's what I'll need. Travel papers. As much family history as possible. Monogram stationery. Magnifying glass. You know, everything we use to verify artifacts, paintings. And the dagger, told. I'll take care of the rest. This could be it. Domino.
Lucy.
So, let me scroll my thing. Okay. I'm gonna try to do an accent, but if it doesn't go well, then I'm going to stop and no one say anything.
Bail at any time.
Just
We're with
pretend
you
it
either
never
way.
happened. September 20th, 18-something. My dearest Henry, I'm sitting at my desk writing this letter to you in the thick of preparing for my visit. Lady Ravenna cautions me not to send too many correspondences, as a proper lady wears not her heart on her sleeve, but I feel I can be forthright with you. I received the gift you sent. It's a lovely likeness. My friends have told me that only an embarrassed beau gives lover's eye jewelry to be discreet, but I know the true reason you had it sent. You recalled those years ago in London when I put my hand to your furrowed brow and remarked at how overtaxed you seemed on such a lovely day. And I thought I felt you soften at my touch. I've never forgotten that. My excitement for our impending visit has left me quite exhausted as of late. I've had trouble sleeping, wake up with my heart pounding, remembering only muddled visions of you and your estate. And something with birds, although I can never quite recall. Perhaps doves to symbolize our love. Perhaps it's just the sound of the barn swallows migrating before the snow comes in, slipping into my dreams. Lady Ravenna's calling me now to attend to some business or other. I must go. Just think, this letter will find your hand only days before my own hand does. Yours forever, Lucy.
Note of instruction from Mr. Edgar Pohl, butler to Alexander Varga, house servant, 9th October, 18-something. Alexander, the same order for the pantry this week as last, but next week's must be doubled. As you know, the lady eats scarce little most days, but is made up for somewhat by our guest, that Mistrum Domino. By next week, the new arrivals should be here, and we must make the kitchen ready if Mrs. Babbage is to keep a full house fed. Buy cheaply where you can, money is far from bottomless, but we should have some decent wine for Miss Adwell and Lady Ravenna all the same. Have a word with Mr. Bacco about the hedges. He is somewhat more agreeable when speaking to anyone other than myself. When he and I spoke yesterday, he became quite belligerent when I suggested they required some trimming, and called me a damn fool to fuss when the cold months was coming on. It is as though he cares nothing for the lady's attempts to make this place livable again. If he remains disagreeable, I will ask Mrs. Babbage to speak with him if she has the time. She at least seems to be most often spared from his sharp tongue. You and Lydia should have rooms ready for Miss Adwell and Lady Ravenna by week's end. Do what you can to keep the birds from the rooms, only be cautious. You know how troublesome they can become if they feel antagonized. Finally, watch for signs of rodents. I thought the birds had kept them from becoming a problem, but I could swear I have heard them moving about in the walls and beneath the floorboards recently. E. Pohl. Diary of Henrietta Carlyle, 13th October, 18-something. It seems prudent to keep some more detailed record of my efforts in this place, if only to pass a few more of the interminably empty hours which define so many of the days I have spent here. Any progress with making the estate something more than an abandoned shell has been slow. There's barely enough money to keep the little staff we have. Domino seems quite confident that they can replace some of the old decor for what they call a very reasonable cost, and arguing with them over the meaning of the word reasonable has at least given the days a little colour. I can feel the gaze of many small dark eyes even as I write this. The Countess's birds seem to know as well as I do that this place is not yet truly mine, and they treat me as an unwanted guest in their domain. I wonder, will it be any different when Lucy and I are married? I properly become the lady of the estate? Ah, yes. My mind turns again to that last indignity from father. No home left to me, nothing left unsquandered to inherit, and then a meagre title which only becomes mine upon marriage, the final word in our lifelong argument. He always did have to have his way in the end. I suppose Raefenheim would have been his from which to deprive me as well, had the solicitors found out our familial bonds with the Countess before his death. Lucy. She's a gentle creature, it seems to me, and very kind. Only a few days before she and the Lady Ravenna arrive. It'll be strange to see such softness in this place, which feels so hard and empty to me. What was it Father used to tell me about softness? The world does not round its sharp edges for any man softer than a diamond. I should like to think he was wrong, as I so often told him he was. And so, we come into the present, which for us is the 17th of October, 18-something. If Robert Louis Stevenson can do it, so can I. Lady Ravenna and Lucy, you are in a carriage, one that is out of date, let's say. You could swear this thing is the better part of 50 years old, and perhaps as a result, you've felt just about every bump in the long and winding road coming up to the castle. You've been traveling for weeks at this point, and are surely a bit tired and a bit shocked, I would say, by Lucy at least, by just the differences in culture that you've come across so far, in the traveling life as opposed to that of someone who stays at home. Lady Ravenna, this is all much more familiar to you, of course. And as you are sort of just feeling a bit done with the travel, you open up the small blinds, nearly pulling them off of their terrible old hinges in your carriage. And you can see that you are reaching the end of the road that leads up to Raefenheim Castle.
Lucy, look, you can see it right there on the cliff.
I'm immediately, like, going over to that side, like, leaning out the window, so excited. Even though I'm tired, I'm, like, very excited, and I'm like, oh, it's so much darker than I imagined.
Yes, it doesn't seem to be so dark when I was young, but I think you'll bring some brightness here with your cheery little self. I, like, cup her cheeks.
Yeah, I'm just, like, eyes wide, just, like, looking at everything, and then I, like, sit back down and I pull out my little diary and start, like, writing things down about, like, you know, we're gonna be there soon.
Mm-hmm.
Just scribbling away.
My old lady bones, I'm just like, oh, I am so ready for this journey to be over. Oh, pass me that cushion.
Pass you a cushion.
Meanwhile, up in the castle itself, Ezra, you are crouched in front of a couple of the birds who've gathered and are taking some food directly from your hand. And you are chancing, for once, to be in a space near a window. If only because you had heard the maids talking to each other. And it seems like these new arrivals you've been hearing about will be here today. And you've wanted to know as soon as that happened. As there will be 2 more people in this place. The 2 crows who are in front of you, one of them takes a little bit of food from your hand and sort of like hops a little bit closer to you, and is just giving you this curious look, as it seems to be picking up on some anxiety from you.
I, like, give it a little scritch on its nose and just say, oh, it's no trouble. We can hide as well from them as from anyone. And scatter some more food around.
Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, Domino, you and Henry haven't really done your walkthrough today. You think she's been avoiding you a little bit, as she has some other things on her mind. But you see her saying something to Mr. Pohl, the butler, and he sort of nods stiffly and walks away from Henry, who just sort of a bit languidly is just sort of looking around the place.
Oh,
Oh.
you must be excited today.
Yes, of course. It's always a joy to welcome someone into your crumbling home.
Well, I'm sure I'm looking forward to meeting this Lucy.
Yes, of course you don't have to meet her. You could completely stay away from her if you wanted. No one would think anything was odd about that.
Oh, but I think it would be so rude just to deny her the chance to meet me, don't you think?
She just sort of like gives this straight line, tense, thin-lipped half smirk, and just sort of like inclines her head at you a little bit. Lucy and Ravenna, you can feel the carriage come to a stop at last. And as the door opens and this hunched man who has grumbly given you the last leg of your journey opens the door. All right, here you go. You're at the place, and you're sure this is the place you want to be in?
Yes, thank you, darling.
Yes, quite sure. I'm very excited to meet everyone and explore.
And he just sort of like is fiddling with something under the door, and it's like, oh yes, explore. And is just sort of cursing to himself. And there's this awful metal on metal creak as these little stairs like halfway come down that you're supposed to be able to step down onto. Right, there you are.
I'm gonna hop down the stairs and then put my hand up to help Lady Ravenna down, since it's maybe a little bit of a drop off. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lucy, you look up at the castle now, right in front of you, and it is this imposing thing that looks like the skeleton of a great cathedral to you. As you're seeing it up close for once, the darkness of the sky feels like it's reflected in this place. The whole thing seems to loom over you, and now that you're seeing these details about it, you're seeing that there is once intricate stonework that is just crumbling apart. The hedges look overgrown. It is maybe not what you were hoping it would be.
I think Lucy is looking up at it, and Lucy, I guess I haven't described what she looks like. Lucy is very soft, very round face, kind of like plump and like very cheerful looking, and she's kind of looking up at this like this kind of, what you described, and gives a little sigh and says kind of to herself, well, I suppose as one of the ladies of the house, I'm happy to see I'll have plenty to keep myself busy with, and like kind of looking at the hedges and like making little sketches in my book of like what I'll want them to look like and like the work that we can do, and just like, happy to have a project, I think.
As you're taking that in, you see the doors on the front of this structure swing open in a way that might have been grand at one time. And you see a tall man who is in his maybe his early to mid 50s, with just steel gray hair. He's very neat. He's the neatest person I think you've probably seen in a couple of weeks at this point. Very, very crisp jacket. And he comes rushing out to meet you. He bows at the waist to each of you and goes, Miss Adwell, I trust. Lady Ravenna, of course, I do remember you.
Thrilled to see you once again. This is Mr. Paul, right?
This is Mr. Paul.
A delight, Mr. Paul. It's been far too long. You have certainly kept up with yourself over these days.
As have you, my lady. I thank you for saying so. Lucy, he goes to you and says, I am Edgar Pohl, head butler of Raefenheim. If there is anything at all you need, madam, you need only ask for it.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sure I won't need very much. I can find my own way about, but maybe if you have time, I'd love to get a little bit of a tour around the gardens. Henry already isn't planning on doing that with us.
Of course. As you mention Henry, you look back at the house, and you see her there. She's standing in the doorway, and it's probably been some time since you've seen her in person. There is a visible weight on this young woman. She is only a couple of years older than you. She's 20. But the circles that are starting to show under her eyes are adding to that impression of weight, and maybe making her look a bit older than she is. She is dressed in a pretty masculine attire, a shirt and jacket and waistcoat, and slacks. And her hair is like kind of loosely kept up in the back, but the front and sides are just kind of going where they want. She has dark eyes, and as clearly became very important to all of us while playing around with character maker apps, has thick, severe eyebrows.
I squeeze Lady Ravenna's hand. Like my heart is just pounding. Seeing Henry.
You see Henry turn to the side and say something to someone else. And she comes down the steps towards you. There's a young maid following behind her closely. And in the doorway you see Domino. Domino, if you want to describe yourself at all.
Sure. Domino is like kind of tall, very kind of like severe features, cheekbones and stuff. Really dark black hair, and clothes are like very neat and like very like fancy, but not ostentatious. Just look like clothes our rich person would be wearing.
Yeah. Understated, one might say.
Yeah.
As Henry approaches both of you, she stops about 6 feet away from you. Lucy. Lady Ravenna, I trust your travels were not overly long or difficult.
Oh, they were both long and difficult, but we are so glad to be here, and I am so thrilled to see you. You look lovely, Henry, in this beautiful manner. I'm so excited to see what you will do with it, and with my young Lucy here.
Yes, well, I'm afraid I have a bit of work that I must tend to. I do apologize for the rudeness of that. However, Mr. Pohl and Lydia here will help you with any luggage that you have with you, and I will see you at dinner time. And she also kind of like bows to you a little too stiffly and goes back inside.
Lucy's devastated. Like, she was like vibrating with energy, like so like not talking because she was like, I don't want to like, you know, like too anxious basically. And when Henry's like, oh, I have work to do, Lucy just like looks visibly crestfallen and just looks at Lady Ravenna like, did I do something wrong?
Ravenna's horrified. You call that a welcome? I've never seen such incredible rudeness, Lucy. Hopefully this is not a sign of what this trip will be or your future. We will... Let's go get some tea and sit down and at least be somewhere stable for a second after this long journey.
I think Domino, like, steps up and clears their throat and is like, I don't think that we have had the pleasure of being acquainted. I'm Domino, of course. I've heard so much about you, Lucy, and Lady Ravenna. While your luggage is being taken care of, I would be happy to show you around or get some tea for you. You should watch your step. The stone is a bit uneven in places, but you shouldn't be too hard on poor Henry. I'm sure it's been overwhelming for someone of her experience. But now that we're together, I'm sure this castle will be in good shape in no time. After all, that's what family is for.
I'd love a tour. Lucy just no can't read subtext.
Yeah, I would say, Lady Ravenna, you look over at Mr. Pohl as Domino is introducing themselves, and like, when they say that's what family is for, if looks could kill, they would be dead where they stood. The daggers that Mr. Pohl is staring into Domino are like, you can feel the tension around this man.
If possible, I'd love to pull Lucy away from Domino because she's not having shady character.
Lucy really wants a tour.
Yeah, as you say that also, Mr. Pohl says, I am quite capable of giving a tour to the new arrivals myself. Lydia, if you would please get Alexander, bring the bags to the rooms. We will, of course, show you to your rooms as soon as you would like. Perhaps you would like to go straight there and have a tour later so that you may rest for a time.
Yeah, I think Lucy goes along with that. I was going to maybe try to compel Lady Ravenna to go on a tour with me, but I think I'll save it for later.
Oh, sorry, hang on. Did Peeves
Yeah, we got some
bits?
bits.
Goodness.
I was gonna say, I think something the crows are about to
I think, yeah, it's crow mischief.
Alright,
make their entrance.
we'll circle back on that. Thanks, Peeves. Right, so, Mr. Pohl, who's carrying some of your bags, Lydia has the other ones, no sign of this Alexander at this time. But they are leading you in, and Mr. Pohl says, of course, we will take you straight to your rooms, and you may have whatever time you like to relax, unpack. A few things that you should know about the manor at this time. For one, well, the late Countess was a great lover of animals, and kept Lady Ravenna, I'm sure you remember, her pet crows. In her absence, they have flourished here. They are not aggressive, however, I would not be surprised if you see them. Yes. As one goes right overhead. They might even be in the dining room. It is, of course, something we are attempting to mitigate as best we are able. And as you're taking that in, you both look around, and they truly are just everywhere that a bird could be perched. There is a large black crow looking right at you, it seems. Once you have your rooms, this may sound odd, and I do apologize, but the lady did insist that I give you this instruction. When night comes, it is imperative that you do go to your own room. It is best not to be wandering around the grounds at night. It is perhaps a superstition, but from time to time it has been said, that the castle gives bad dreams. I, of course, give no credence to this myself, but as long as you are sleeping in the room that you are given, is assigned... excuse me, that's the wrong way to put that. That has been set aside for you. You should sleep perfectly well as you are able. However, if you sleep in a room that is not yours, per se, dreams may come to you in the night. And you can both tell that Mr. Pole seems just embarrassed as hell to be saying that, even. He clearly thinks this is silly, but, there it is. He's been, told to tell you this thing. Ezra, from your place, I imagine the room that you're in is higher up, so I would think you have a pretty good vantage on all of this. You see the lady of the house kind of walk out very briefly, go straight back in, and you see these other folks getting their shit together. And you hear some footsteps not far off a short time later.
I would love to duck into the nearest hole in the wall. Get away.
You slip into a hole. Do you stick around so you can see who it is, or do you disappear somewhere?
If possible, I would like to, if I can coax a crow to come with me and kind of just have my arm out and this kind of perch on my arm that way, so it looks like they're just hanging out in the corner, and then in between their feathers kind of poke my eyes around to see who it is, but kind of use them as camouflage.
Sure.
I'll coax them with a little bit of food and just
okay. You are trying to coax this crow. You can hear these footsteps coming closer, and it seems like the crow is just kind of looking up at you while standing on the floor, and hops a little bit closer, and just kind of makes a little noise at you, but isn't coming up to your arm.
Okay. I get to go, never mind. And I'll just duck into the wall.
You duck into the wall, and you hear some slow, gentle footsteps enter the room. Then they stop. You hear them kind of pace around on the wooden floor a little bit. You hear a few things get moved around. And then you hear one of the crows, it's the one you were just right in front of, go, Ezra!
Bitch. Motherfucker.
And
like holding, like stifling my breath. I'm like as small as I can make myself, like don't even daring to blink.
And you hear a voice that you've heard plenty in the last month and a half or so. I'm sorry, did you just say something? And you hear the feet of the crow kind of like bounce on the floor a couple of times, and it just croaks out your name again, like perfectly. Ezra. Where did you learn that? And Henry is in the aviary, just chatting with a crow who keeps saying your name. And then you hear the feet hop a couple of times again, and get a bit closer.
Oh God.
What are you trying to show me something?
Is there a pathway that I can like start moving away from?
It is.
Can I go further into the walls?
Make the first roll of the game. I think. Let's see. What does this sound like? Or what does this look like? I'm trying to decide if I think this is curious or courageous.
I'm also now deciding whether or not I actually want to run away because this is fun role playing. Here's what if you'll allow me. Here's what I'll propose instead. Instead of like actively trying to find my way through the wall,
chat.
Can I like just kind of shimmy a little bit further away and leave something close to the entryway without being seen? Like I wanna pull like a piece of jewelry off my person that has just been left to me and just kind of leave it there as if the crow is like trying to show Henry something shiny.
Sure, that is
just shimmy further back.
That is a clever move, and as such.
Oh, sorry, not the term clever. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it serves the same purpose. I think that as far as the game is concerned, I think that's going to be a curious roll.
Okay. And just to be totally clear, 3, and I'm adding my curious to it.
No. That is the
okay.
In this game, for those of you at home.
Oh, that's the amount that we roll.
That's the number of dice, yeah. There are 3 character traits that our players will be rolling with when they have to. Curious, courteous, and courageous. I've just decided that this is a curious roll because it's being clever. It's thinking on one's feet. And Ezra has a score of 2 in Curious, which means that Mace is going to roll 2 dice and tell me the result, and then we will see what happens from there.
That is a 6.
A 6.
I don't have the rules in front of me, so I forget what that means.
I just opened them a minute ago. That's why I had a...
Maybe I should pull them up really quick.
Well, I mean, I've got them. As many things are in this game, a 6 is what's called a mixed success. Vitally, I'm so thrilled that the first roll of the game is a mixed success. Excuse me. In the game Raefenheim, anytime a player rolls a mixed success, it is because a crow has decided to mess with you a little bit. So you basically get what you want. However, it may not quite play out correctly. So you just rip something off, and you drop it. and you back up into the space, and you can see that there is enough of a path that you can kind of like get around a corner a little bit. You think you're out of sight, but as you are kind of like pulling back behind that corner, you can see Henry following the crow enough that she fully puts her head into this hole, and you see she kind of like looks around, and as though she didn't realize that like there was a hole this big. Oh heavens, this whole place is falling apart. Gonna have to get this boarded up. And she looks down. What is it you found there? And you just like grabbed something off of yourself really quick.
Yeah.
And Henry takes this bauble from the crow and goes, and is just like turning this thing over in her hand and seems very interested in it. And you see her kind of like back out of the hole, and you hear her walk away. And the crow kind of just like looks at you, and then it flaps off.
I think that Ezra will wait what feels like another 15 or 20 minutes until she hears no more footsteps before crawling back out and kind of just like staying slumped on the ground, like willing her heart to slow down. And is like, you could have waited. You could have waited. If I look at what I pulled off, can I recall what it was that I left and when I just tossed it in a frenzy?
Ooh, yeah, I don't think I want you to have to roll for that. The thing that I was thinking is the thing we talked about just before the stream started. This is a chain that one of the crows had brought you quite a while ago at this point.
I think I look and notice that one is gone and just go, oh, what a shame. That one was pretty. And just kind of sit and wonder what I'm going to do about boarding up the walls.
Back over to Lucy, Lady Ravenna, and Domino. Domino, the very few servants who still work here, there's a total of like 5 of them, and 3 of them are currently helping the 2 ladies to their rooms. Are you sticking with this group? Oh, Xaverie, you're muted.
No, I think I'm kind of like, yeah, we'll get a chance to talk later and then go off to like investigate somewhere.
Okay. Do you have anything specific you're kind of looking for at this time, or just kind of continuing your rounds about the place?
Yeah, just like looking around.
Okay. Ravenna and Lucy, you are brought through some surprisingly confusing hallways, and you're like trying to mark. Okay, so to get back to the main room, I'll have to go this, and then was it a left? It's difficult to keep track, and yeah, you do notice as you're walking through that like it's true, these birds are all throughout this place as best you can tell. They occasionally just kind of like swoop over you. They don't like come at you or anything. They seem, if anything, a little bit curious about you, but they are just all over the place. You are given a pair of adjoining rooms. They are just 2 of down this like particular hallway that you go down. They're really just the only two doors in this hallway, and it's two fairly large rooms. They have that same quality of like, this looks like it used to be very nice. And some effort has been put back into them. Like the beds have been made. It's not like there's this massive like smell of mildew and a hole in the floor kind of thing. But you know, there are some old tapestries that are completely faded out. There isn't much at all in the way of decor. And the murals on the walls are like chipped and hard to even make out. And Mr. Pole nods to you and says, "Well, I suppose you might want some time to yourselves. We can alert you when dinner will be served. If there is anything at all that either of you needs, there is a bell in each of your rooms that you can pull on, and it will be heard in the servant quarters."
Mr. Poole, do you think you could bring up some tea for Lady Ravenna?
Yes, of course.
Oh, coffee, please.
Coffee and tea. Anything else? Anything small to eat before dinner?
I did request small cakes, but after seeing the states of this manor, I'm not so sure you have the appropriate bakery stuff. But whatever you have.
I will make sure something is sent up presently. And he kind of like whispers a few brief commands to Lydia, the young maid, and she kind of scurries off, and then he gives you another stiff bow and turns to give you some time. Are you going to your room separately, or are you going to stick together?
Did you say we have two separate rooms? Are they adjoining rooms? Or
They
are
are
just
adjoining
two
rooms,
separate
yeah.
rooms? Okay. Go ahead, Arielle. Were you gonna say something?
I think Lady Ravenna she has some shiny necklaces like me today, and is probably hiding them from the crows a little bit, knowingly, and isn't scared of the crows, but is definitely put off by them and is trying to avoid them, and is maybe trying to pull Lucy into the room away from crows.
Yeah, Lucy is just gonna go in because I think her first thing is she wants to make sure that Lady Ravenna's settled in nicely and taken care of, since it was a bumpy ride here, and she's an older woman, and so I think Lucy is coming in and helping you hide your jewelry. And she says, "Should I send for hot water bottle or anything like that? Are you
Oh no, don't bother. It's fine. I'll sit here on this cushion and look out this window. Remember some good times."
Yeah, I look around for like a blanket or something to give you, because I imagine it's like kind of cold.
Thank you, dear.
Lady Ravenna, would you say that you're pining right now?
Maybe.
Thing about this game, again, for those of you at home, is that there are a couple of moves that any character can make. Those are scheming, pining, and brooding. Lady Ravenna is choosing in this case to pine for happier days in this place. Arielle, if you would like to kind of narrate what Lady Ravenna is thinking over, feel free. Don't feel any pressure to, also.
Yeah, in her mind, the last time she was here, she was in a romance with the lady of the house, Corvina, or the countess, I guess. So it would have been more cheerful. There might have been music. There would have been servants in the house. The gardens would have been full of roses and like she walked through them. She walked down the staircase like with flowing robes and just felt lovely and beautiful. So now I think she's coming back and seeing a lot of degradation of a memory, and it's a little heartbreaking. And she wants Lucy to have the same experience that she had when she was in this castle, but doesn't seem to have a very doting partner at the moment. So I want those things for her. And might have a little bit of pining as well as scheming of how to get that for her.
As the main thrust of that was very skillfully both pining for the past and for the future. You can just kind of hang on to a +1 to the next time you make some kind of courteous roll, and you can only have one of those just kind of floating around at a time, but there you go. Sorry, I made the mistake of looking over at chat for a second. Love you, Q. Right, so I think I want to check in with Lucy then, as Lady Ravenna seems to get kind of lost in looking out the window wistfully. What do you think you would like to do?
I really want to explore, and no one will let me look around this place.
No one's really tried to stop you either.
Yeah, no one's trying to stop me, but they've all kind of been like, "You shouldn't right now," and you know, I'm a little bit courteous. But I think I'm gonna excuse myself. Like, you know, Lady Ravenna seems like she's settled in. The coffee and tea are coming up, so I'm gonna excuse myself to the adjoining room, and then, like, kind of look around, and then like peep my head out of like my door, like not the door to the other room, but like the door out to the rest of the manor, and just kind of look around and see if anyone's around to stop me from exploring.
No, the hallway is fully empty when you look out.
Yeah, then I'm just gonna start, you know, the classic, like, you know, this big empty, like, I'm imagining like it's not the right genre, but like Secret Garden, when Mary is like kind of like in this big house and just like kind of slowly looking through like every door, like testing to see if it'll open, and just like looking around this, because Lucy's 18, like she's basically
she's 18 and she doesn't know shit, of course.
Yeah. But I just want to look around. I'd like to, I mean, metagaming, I'd like to find signs of Ezra, but also just like the house.
We can find signs of Ezra.
Oh, of course you can find signs of Ezra.
Some little holes in the wall and passage.
Can you go ahead and roll Curious for me?
Lucy has 3 in Curious, so I'm gonna roll 3 dice.
Clever girl.
Oh, well, I got a 6, but then I also got 2 1s, so that's 8.
An 8 is...
Also, I'm rolling these. I don't know if anyone will be able to see, but these dice have
I probably won't need to roll at any point, but I've got a D6 with a crow skull in it, so...
Amazing.
Yeah, baby!
Oh my god.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's very cool.
Mine are the ones I had on hand.
Which is very Ezra.
Yeah, you know what? They're just little toys and trinkets.
Mine are, I've never rolled these before, but it's like
Ooh.
They
a
look
little
like
opal.
Betty.
Oh, you
I
can't
love
see
opal.
the shininess
Precious
in the camera.
Oh, that's so good.
I can see a little bit.
Well, let's hope when you when you get a roll in. Yeah. Let's hope they're on your side. Okay. So, an 8 is also a mixed success. So, let me think here.
I have a pitch for something that can happen.
Oh, please.
Because a mixed success is I find like what I'm looking for, but the crows do something to me, right?
They, yeah,
They
I mean...
I was thinking they could take my necklace.
Ooh. Ooh. Yep. Yeah, that rules, actually. So you are, oh my god. Mel, don't tempt me with a Dice Talk stream. I could run that, absolutely. Yeah, okay, so you are trying to find your way around, and you're just kind of taking in the space. It is dreary in here. There is not a lot of light. It's drafty, and you are still you are having trouble, like, remembering, okay, I came down this hallway, so if I want to go back to the room, I go down that, or was it... And as you're kind of trying to sort that for yourself, you are just kind of like leaned up against a wall. And you're just kind of thinking, okay, which way do I want to go? And from a sconce that is behind you on the wall, you don't notice that there is a crow just like right there next to you. And it kind of just like reaches down, and you feel like the chain move on your neck as it manages to slip the chain of your necklace off of you, and it flies off. You go chasing after this crow. Yeah, I think you follow it for a number of hallways. And you at this point have totally lost sight of like where in the castle you are. And as you're chasing down this one bird, it goes into a room and lands on this decorative piece on the wall. And it's just like looking at you, and it's a little too high up for you to just like reach out and like get your thing. And it's just holding it in its beak, and it's just looking down at you.
I just am like hands on my hips looking up at this bird, and I'm just like, God's forsake it, that's the only thing I even have that shows that Henry cares for me at all at this point. Please give it back to me, please. I haven't done anything to you. And I just like put my hand up to this crow to try to get my necklace back.
So I don't know if you were intending to do this.
I kind of was intending to do it. I don't think I did it exactly.
No, this feels right. So each of our players' characters are an archetype in the game, and Lucy is the romantic archetype. The romantic has a move called Declare, and when a romantic declares their true feelings about someone or something, doing so makes members of the estate, which is just any character or creature that I control, sympathetic to them. This has some mechanical benefits too, but in this case, I think the bird just kind of looks at you and kind of tilts its head, and it drops the necklace into your hand.
I like hold it to my chest and say, thank you. I have no idea how much that means to me. It's just, well, I thought things would be quite different coming here, and I thought that I would see Henry and we'd be together, and Henry doesn't seem to care about me at all. I just put the necklace back on and kind of...
Ezra, I'm going to sort of...
I was about to say, Could I have appeared?
Yeah.
And by appear, mean be behind that decorative
I was in fact going to force your
Just,
move
like,
there.
sitting there.
Ezra.
I'll do that for free, baby.
Ezra is an archetype in the game called the Haunted, and their move is called Appear. And when a scene is happening that does not involve the Haunted, they can simply have been there and heard the whole thing. Now that you have declared that you are in fact here, Lucy is aware of you, and Lucy, as you are like talking to this crow and kind of like pouring your heart out a little bit, you look down and all of a sudden you are making direct eye contact with a person you do not recognize who is standing just behind this thing.
Lucy's a blood-curdling scream.
Ezra just because I haven't described Ezra yet.
No,
Lucy
you
is
haven't.
looking at a person with a very, very small frame. Just like not necessarily like emaciated or anything, but like just a very small build. They are extremely pale, which should not be a surprise to anybody, but in addition to that, if one like looked long enough, they could probably imagine that Ezra's hair was once blonde. Her eyes were probably once blue or some other lighter color, maybe green, but Ezra very much has the sense of having this faded over time, like all the color has kind of just lifted from their person. They're dressed pretty simply. They have a sort of collared shirt, they have a vest, they have a pair of slacks, but they are just kind of adorned in random places with bits of jewelry, shiny things. They have a string of just a collection of buttons around their neck, all things that have been brought to them by these crows. And their hair being like relatively short, but having like the sort of Victorian characteristic large bangs at the sides. So you can't quite tell exactly who Ezra is supposed to be, but it's just this sort of faded character just covered in presents. And is just now like devastated that they've upset you and is like shush, 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 shush.
I feel as though I'm about to pass out. I'm sorry. Who are you?
I'm the bird watcher.
Oh, I'm sorry. You work for the estate.
I take care of the birds.
Lucy like sits down on like some dusty whatever like ottoman that's in here and says, I feel quite silly. I'm sorry. You quite surprised me, but I'm Lucy Adwell. Nice to meet you.
Ezra kind of like brings their hands to kind of like cover their chest a little bit and like kind of fiddles with some of those buttons for a minute before like taking a breath, composing themselves, and like doing a very courteous bow toward Lucy, saying, "My name is Ezra Priest. You've arrived recently?"
Just today, just a bit ago.
I'm sorry that they frightened you. They like to cause trouble. They're like children.
It's quite all right. They took something from me, but gave it back right away. So that's fine with me.
If they ever get away with that, let me know, because they'll probably have brought it to me. I'll get it back to you right away.
I appreciate that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Raefenheim had a bird tender.
Well, they need someone to look after them, and very few people do.
Well, I thank you for your work here. We'll probably be getting to know each other a bit better soon. I'm supposed to be one of the ladies of the house at some point.
You're going to live here? Well, perhaps it might be best to leave the bird tending to me then. Because they don't listen to many people, sometimes not even to me. But everybody knows what I do, so there's no real need to talk about it much.
Right?
Sounds legit.
Right? Lucy was like feeling a little bit more at ease, and then like was kind of like, okay, that's an odd thing for someone to say. So she stands up and kind of brushes herself off. And says, well, I should probably head back to try to find my room. I should be getting ready for dinner, I suppose. Perhaps I'll see you there? Still very unsure of what Ezra's role here is.
Oh, I wouldn't take dinner with guests, but again, if one of them ever takes anything from you, I'll be sure to bring it back somewhere.
I like put my hand out to like shake your hand. It was like a goodbye.
I think Ezra like kind of like looks at it for a second, and then like doing a similar sort of like almost like quick moment of composure, takes it out and very like confidently and gently shakes Lucy's hand.
It's just occurred to me, I don't know if I know where my room is. Do you think you could tell me the direction?
Well, which wing of the house was it in?
I don't think I know. It was next to Lady Ravenna's room. We went up from the hall, we turned left and then left again, I think.
There's something I could try. Is the bird that stole Lucy's necklace still around?
Yeah, it's still right on top of, it's looking right down at you.
Okay. Could I argue a courteous roll, and bring out a particularly rich little treat that maybe the cook snuck me last time I was around the kitchen, and offer it up to them and say, something to get the lady back to her room?
Sure.
Okay, courteous.
I think that's a great idea.
Oh, one of those fell. Ooh, that's a 16.
A 16?
5, 5, and a 6.
Holy cow.
An unmitigated success.
Holy crow.
Holy crow.
Holy crow!
The crow looks down at you and kind of tilts its head one way, then sort of the other, then plucks the food from your hand. And this is the best thing I've ever done with Twitch.
This is incredible.
Sound effects are great.
Also, yeah, the vibes have changed incredibly.
Yeah, hey, what's up? What? This is the same track.
Interesting. Okay.
Who can say?
Crow mischief.
Yeah.
The crow kind of glides down towards the door and lands right in the doorway and kind of just like looks back at you with the food still in its beak, and it looks like it's waiting for you.
You'd better chase it. Sometimes they just go off on their own if you don't follow fast enough.
Well, goodbye. Perhaps we'll see each other again. I run after the crow.
I think as soon as Lucy's out of sight, Ezra just kind of like, oh, like reeling from a conversation, just like shrinks back into the wall and like
The Homer Simpson meme.
But into a solid wall. I genuinely am curious how long it's been since Ezra has had that long a conversation with a human.
Probably years. Probably.
Lucy, you go chasing after this crow, and just honestly, because just because I personally haven't seen enough of them so far. I think you follow through a couple of hallways, and you're like, this is starting to look a little familiar. And as you're rounding a corner, you nearly walk right into Domino.
Oh.
Oh, you're surely headed somewhere in a hurry.
Yes, I was one of the crows. Took something from me. I got a bit turned about.
I'm surprised to see you walking the halls alone. You know it's easy to get lost around here when you're unfamiliar.
Yes, I think Lucy's like trying to decide whether to say anything about Ezra. Like honestly, I think she would. So I think she just says, yes, I did get quite turned about, but I ran into someone who had one of the crows help me a bit. So that was lucky.
Oh, okay. Was it our dear Mr. Pole?
No, it was the crow master, the crow keeper, or crow handler, something. Ezra priest.
Oh. I'm not familiar with a crow handler of the estate. You're sure Ezra Priest was the name?
Quite sure that was the name. Unsure if that was the title. But yes, kind of snuck up on me a bit now that I'm thinking about it.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad to see you found your way again. Do you need help getting back to your room?
I imagine the crow has like left.
The fact that you pause, you've been sort of pointed in the right direction, but it's gone off to eat its treat. Yeah.
Yeah, I say, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear more about the estate and more about you. I don't have much to do until dinner.
Yeah, not at all. I'd be happy to lead the way. And so as they're like walking along, they're just trying to say like facts about the estate. Like, oh, and here's something that's interesting. I don't know if you've heard of Corvina's ancestor, great uncle Vladimir, but when this wing was built, he actually burned it down not long after. Too rambunctious. Started a fire with all the candles. But it was rebuilt, of course, in no time.
Built, burnt, and then rebuilt.
It's a part of the manor's history that not many people get to see anymore.
And, you're a relative of the Countess?
That's right. I'm afraid I haven't been able to see her in a long time. So, it was quite a shock when I received the news.
Well, it's good to have you here at Raefenheim. I'm pleased that there's someone who seems a bit more approachable. Everyone I've met so far has been a bit odd.
Yes, I think everyone is missing the Countess. But
I shouldn't be so quick to judge.
Been a pleasure to meet you.
I guess I shake Domino's hand. I'm just shaking everyone's hands.
Shaking hands, kissing babies.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but I am gonna do it.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I did have this thought, Xaverie. You should feel free to just say stuff about the castle whenever. and if you want, I'll let you know which ones are true and which ones aren't, because that first one, definitely true. All right. Yeah, you you managed to get Lucy back to her room. Generally, it's a little easier to navigate in here if you're not doing it alone. So if if any number of you are together, it tends to be a bit easier.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a moment, like when we get to my room, where Lucy feels like a little flustered because she's like alone with someone that she doesn't know, someone who's like very cool, and like also feels like it's like kind of like risque, but also like likes the attention, you know, kind of thing. So it's just looking at Domino with these like big wide eyes, just like accepting everything that they say like as absolute truth.
As you get back, Lady Ravenna, you're inside. You've got your coffee and also some tea that they brought just in case Lucy wanted that. And there are some fairly dry biscuits. It's not really like the cakes you were hoping for, but it's not nothing.
Oh, Lucy, where have you been? These cakes are absolutely horrible, but please have a drink of tea.
Sorry, I was looking at chat. I missed part of what you said.
I just said have some tea.
Or was that to yourself?
Lucy, where have you been?
Okay, sorry. I saw Melanie just said Henry is hot, but also I support this, and it distracted me. I just said, I met some other people at the estate. I wanted to have a look around.
Domino is like right there as the door opens, incidentally, so you certainly would see them.
Yeah, Domino showed me around a bit.
Well, I think, I don't think she knows exactly how to navigate this situation. Also, being courteous is not my strong suit, so, oh, Domino, thank you for, escorting young Lucy. I hope you will not need to do this again. Lucy, please.
Lost and
There's no trouble at all, Lady Ravenna. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'll trust we'll have time to catch up later.
Yes, indeed. At tea, perhaps, a more suitable time.
Of course. I'll leave you to your unpacking.
All right. I think at that point we are going to go ahead to when you're informed that dinner is ready. Ezra, since I don't necessarily want to be running a scene where you're just sort of not involved at all necessarily, unless you're very comfortable with that, I guess. What do you think Ezra is doing, as there is like pretty much all of the people are in one of two places right now. Any actual people who like work here are in the kitchen, either so that they can run food back and forth, or because they're just having kind of like servants' family meal kind of thing. And all of the people who are not servants and also supposed to be there are like all in the dining room.
I'm torn between Ezra like poking around the kitchen and exploring some of the relationship with like Ezra's kind of allowed to be here by some of the staff a little bit, slash them just fully spying on the dining room. Maybe a little bit of los column A, column B, los dos.
I would say you probably have to be careful about the kitchen when dinner is being served, because Mr. Pole will be in and out, and he hasn't. Right. I don't think he's been like cruel to you at all, but he doesn't want you around.
He doesn't want you around. Okay. How about this then? I think. Could it be that like Ezra ducks in specifically to see the cook, to be like, "Hey, can I have some food?" And then then goes to take it to kind of listen in on what's going on in the dining room, to hear about these plans for all of these guests coming in.
Yeah. Sure. You go and see Mrs. Babbage, who, as always, is like just kind of like comes around to the, broken bit of the pantry that you.
Yeah, I like swing out of the grain section, like.
And as you kind of poke your head in, she's kind of like set aside a plate for you. Elena Babbage is a sweet little peanut of a woman. Oh gosh, sorry. I was just checking our chat. She's in her late 40s. She tends to be kind of like hunched over from a lifetime of just like cooking for people, whether her family or someone else's. And she kind of like scuttles a little plate over to you. There you are, dear.
Thank you very much.
You're staying out of sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Well, take this, I guess, and we'll just take off one of the little treasures to give to Mrs. Babbage, because like I don't have anything else to give her besides the fact that like I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the cook is the only actual the only literal staff in here that's like, hey Ezra, you could chill.
Yeah.
You can hang.
She
gives her something.
She kind of like tries to close your hand around it. No. You keep your things.
They're not my things, though.
You have them.
I'm just holding on to them.
No one is looking for them. They're your things. You keep them.
I'm gonna go eat now. Thank you.
And she just kind of gives you this kind of smile.
Scuttle away.
And since you literally can choose to just be wherever the fuck you want, over in the dining room, there is a fireplace off to one side, and this long table with a couple of candlesticks on it. Overall, it's a fairly dim room, though. It's sort of too big for the amount of light that is in here. You're all being served by Lydia and Mr. Pole. There's wine. The food is simple, but it doesn't look very impressive. But as soon as you taste it, it's all very well made. Henry is not there initially and like comes in late. Like you're all served before Henry even bothers to sit down. And she sits making some very brief apologies for not being around all day. And other than that, it is I guess it's just the four of you in here on a table that's a little too big for four people. So, I'm not picturing a scene where like Henry's at one end and you're all at the other end. but it's just like 4 people with one person at the head of the table. Lady Ravenna and Lucy, I imagine you're sitting next to each other. Domino, I don't know if you'd rather be on the other side or like...
Yeah, I'm gonna be at the other, like, end.
The other end? Fuck, that's... Yeah, okay.
I feel like Lady Ravenna is also going to try to push Lucy as close to Henry as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe...
Not a hard sell.
Yeah. You two are sitting, like, fairly close to each other. Lady Ravenna's just a bit further. Domino is so far over there. In all their dark clothing, too. You're probably just, like, disappearing into that end of the room a little bit.
You and your jeweled dagger.
Don't worry about it.
You can't just say that. So, I apologize again for my absence most of the day. I trust you've settled in.
Yes, you could. We found our rooms quite nice. I had a look around a bit. You could make up for your absence by being around tomorrow, perhaps.
I will try to be considerably more present tomorrow. Yes.
That's good to hear.
It may be a bit dark for a tour after dinner, but tomorrow during the day, perhaps.
I look at Lady Ravenna to, like, see if she's down.
Yes, of course. That sounds lovely.
Wonderful. Did either of you have a chance to look around at all today on your own? Lady Ravenna, I know you're, of course, very familiar with the grounds.
Yes, I haven't taken much of a look around, but it's old memories are coming back to me so much. I'll definitely have to take a look. I'm interested. What are your plans here with the ballroom?
Well, the ballroom, unfortunately, is in some of the worst repair of the estate. It's a sad state that the entire place was left in for the last most of a decade. But of course, the plans are to have it back to its former glory at nearest convenience. Of course, Domino here has been assisting in trying to return the decor. Some of it, even we've discussed the original pieces that were in the castle. Many things were sold off. So there were questions of ownership, of course, since the Countess had no living will of any kind.
That is very strange that she did not have a living will. She seemed to always be on top of that sort of thing. I'm a little sad for the state of things, as I'm sure someone deserved those beautiful paintings and artifacts.
Yes, I'm rather saddened by it myself. I only visited the castle once as a girl, and I was 9, perhaps, the last time I saw the Countess. But it is a terrible state of affairs, and I've only been here a month now, so work is unfortunately slow at this time.
Yes, well, it is a large castle with lots of opportunity, and I know it will come back to its former glory one day.
I'm excited to help you and Domino bring that about. I'm more than willing to get my hands dirty, and I'm have a bit of experience with gardening, that sort of thing.
Well, I'm sorry, Lady Ravenna, please.
I was just wondering, where is it you're visiting from, Domino, that you know so much about the artwork here?
Well, Lady Anna, I've been traveling,
Oh,
as you know, all over. That's why it's taken me so long to hear the news and to get back to the castle. In my travels, of course, I have learned many things, but mostly I would love to see the paintings and the antiquities returned. Maybe that's just sentimental value to me.
well, I'm very thankful for your interest in the estate and its beautiful portraits. There's definitely some that we would love to have, well, I would love to have restored, just for the nostalgicness of it.
Yes, I'm afraid there's only one portrait of the Countess herself still in the castle.
Oh, which one?
Well, she turns and she actually looks over at a door which you know to lead to like a sitting room, basically, over the fireplace there.
Yes, that one is a lovely representation of the Countess. I'm glad it's still there.
In surprisingly good repair, I will say.
I'll have to take a look at it later. Thank you.
Yes, of course, Domino, it is so very good of you to be here and helping us, what with your personal interest and, of course, the... I'm sorry, I know you've told me before, but how is it exactly you also were related to the Countess? I'm certain we've had this conversation, but I'm quite tired and it's slipped my mind again.
Well, you wouldn't recall, would you? The Countess and my father never did really get along. But then again, I'm sure you know, she didn't get along with most people, did she?
Well,
Who was your father? Sorry.
Henry leans forward on the table and, like, rests her chin in her hand.
Behind the wall, Ezra's like, what's the tea?
Yes. So my father and the Countess were half siblings. They shared a father, different mothers, of course. And so that's why our families weren't always very close. But I always had a fondness for the Countess, and if I may be so presumptuous, I like to think that she was fond of me as well.
Very strange she never mentioned her fondness for you, but I'll take your word for it.
Like I said, things are very complicated.
Domino's frightfully knowledgeable about Raefenheim, and I think we're lucky to have them here. Told me quite a few interesting facts about the estate while I was lost for a bit, and the wing having burnt down and been rebuilt, and many other things of interest.
In fact, I remember when this portrait was commissioned. It was great artist Jacques Lemour. I'm not surprised it's held up better than almost anything in this castle. He was always very talented and used the highest quality materials.
Truly a wonder that you remember that, being that the portrait is, almost 40 years old now, I believe. Last we had it appraised.
I have a passion for the castle's history. I think it is my duty to know these things.
Henry has like the littlest bit of a smirk on her face, honestly. You, Domino, you've gotten the impression over the time that you've been here that she loves challenging you on this stuff and is just constantly like a little bit enjoying fencing with you like this.
Lucy's just like beaming alternatively at Henry and Domino. Just like everything either one of them says, just like hanging on every word.
Well, Lucy, darling, I am quite sure that I'm very glad you were able to find your way again. I know that the castle can be quite difficult to navigate sometimes. Honestly, I should have mentioned it's often best not to wander around on one's own. I do apologize.
Well, the keeper of the crows was able to help me out quite a bit, so that turned out quite all right.
Who was?
The crow keeper.
I'm sorry. Do you mean the groundskeeper? Did you? Is
no.
that? She genuinely just like looks like she has no idea what you're talking about. You say Ezra, and she just kind of like tilts her head a little bit to one side. Sorry, what was that name?
Ezra, priest, keeps the crows.
Of course. I'm so very sorry. Slipped my mind. Well, if we're all through with dinner, perhaps you would like to go and see the portrait in the sitting room.
Yes, that would be lovely.
Domino, will you be joining us to, as you know so much about it?
Well, if you're interested, I'd be happy to.
I think that is, I think that this is a good spot for us to take our break for the evening. We're going to break for about 10 minutes. And when we come back, we will get into it in the sitting room. Go use the bathroom, refresh your snacks, your drinks, whatever you need to do. We will see you here in, let's call it 10 minutes. We'll be back at 7:55. All right. Goodbye, friends. All right, we are
Make them wait for it.
And on the note of you saying make him wait for it, right as I unmuted us. Sorry we're a little bit late.
Delete myself from the internet.
Sorry we're late. Mace doesn't care.
The rest of us feel bad about it.
Stop it!
You really did Mace dirty take by not counting down or anything. You
Yeah, that's that's fully on me.
I am racked with real life fear right now.
Oh, I'm
It's terrible.
Mace. I'm so sorry. No, here, I'll go ahead and say it. Fucking, I'm glad you waited for us. That's also
We're
why
worth
I
the wait.
forgot to turn the away from keyboard music back on, so you just had to sit in silence and wait for us.
Mace was being sarcastic. Just
We can move on from that. I'm just
Mace
like
is being
tremendously
sarcastic.
embarrassed
I don't
right
give
now.
a shit.
And here comes my boyfriend. Phenomenal.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Hello, Raiders.
It's
Hello, Tim and friends. What incredible timing. We've just come back from
hello,
break.
everyone.
We are playing a game called Raefenheim, which I wrote. It is a Gothic literature themed RPG that fits on a single page. Goodness me. What a time we've had so far. Big pumpkin shrugs, yep.
I get it's a marker, sure.
I heard some kind of sound alert, and honestly, I'm not seeing what it was for.
Tim, this is some kind of twisted joke.
Incredible.
Anyway.
So, we've already introduced ourselves, but for those of us in the chat who are just joining, we're going to do it again. And I'm Tag. I use they, them pronouns. I am playing as the estate, which is to say that I am playing as a crumbling castle full of crows, which is actually my gender. And I don't, this game is pretty good, it turns out. I'm like feeling a lot of pride at this point. Oh, Val, thank you for subscribing. You sweet, sweet creature, you. And then my guests will go ahead and reintroduce themselves as well. Hilariously, we're going to be starting with Mace, who should not feel bad. I'm trying really hard to make myself the bad guy here. You were joking. I don't care how they feel.
Hi everyone, I'm Mace and I'm sorry. I'm Mace, I use she, her pronouns. I am playing the character of Ezra Priest, who uses she, they pronouns. I am thoroughly enjoying myself. In the same sort of vein as literature, I am also a poet. I have my poetry available at a coffee shop in Salem, Odd Meter Coffee. It's super fun. But also hoping to expand to other locations. But I also am able to disperse my poetry via the poetry Instagram, which you'll see in the player tidbit that comes up in chat from time to time. So if you're interested in following that Instagram, crow cam came out of nowhere, please do. I post updates from time to time, and that's a way that you can order my poems via DM in case you would like any copies of your own. So check both of those out if you would like.
Delightfully, in my own life, I am able to just reach down into my desk and pull out
There's one.
beautiful poem that was written and then sent to me by Mace. I have several around at any given time, which is a delight to me.
Just send you some new ones, come to think of it. I get it, everyone gets a poem. Why
I'm not
not?
going to stop you. Xaverie.
Oh, you can.
Great. Good to know.
Are you gonna stop her? Yeah, I'm Xaverie, she, her. I'm just vibing. And I play Domino. And you should trust everything they say.
Done. Done.
Fair enough. Arielle.
Hi, I'm Arielle. I use she, her pronouns, and today I'm playing a character of Lady Ravenna, who is an old lady former love interest of the Countess. A little bit judgmental, but that's, I think, okay.
So far, she's been judgmental of mostly shady things, so...
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Maybe trust everything Lady Ravenna says.
Do not listen to anything Ezra says. Do not perceive Ezra, please.
Taylor, how about you?
Okay, I'm Taylor. I use she, her pronouns. I'm playing Lucy Adwell, who also uses she, her pronouns. And if you enjoy this group of people playing this game, you might enjoy something we all previously did together, which you can find on my YouTube channel, which is Roll for Felicity. If you just search that on YouTube, you can find it. We all played Good Society together, which was very fun. We played, I think it's 6 episodes with the character creation, something like that. And we also did a one-shot, which was really fun. And then you can also follow me on Twitch at Roll for Felicity. And I have some one-shots coming up on my channel that I'm excited for. On Wednesday, I'm going to be playing a game of Mouse Ritter, which is like an OSR game where all the people are little mice. And on Saturday, so a week from today, I'm going to be playing Basic Witches, which is another one-page RPG that's super, super fun, and it's where teenage witches hex the patriarchy. So that's the stuff I've got coming up.
It's a great game. Also, if you do go ahead and watch the sessions of Good Society we played, we also all played characters whose word you should trust implicitly.
100%.
Yeah.
So
very, very similar to this in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
You're all very
Hopefully
trustworthy
I'll say-
people.
Yeah, very
Just
different characters
listen.
from what we're playing today, which I think is impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not playing a
love
single
that.
character, but I did wear those sunglasses as the character that I played. So those are just my actual ass sunglasses. Is the thing. That's just the person I am a little bit. All right. With that, I got another sound alert that I don't know what it was for, and it's not coming up in my thing, and I'm worried that I'm missing important things.
It's not coming up in the mod view either, so I don't know what's happening with those sound effects.
Weird. Very normal and good how often everyone keeps articulating how trustworthy they are. Yeah.
Communication.
For those of you who I played Good Society with, just a real quick note before we jump back into it. My dear friend Q said I only know them as Nyx shades. Those sunglasses. When I made Nicola, I didn't intend to remake a character that I made in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, like 1-to-1, but I accidentally did a little bit. And it was just a hot warlock named Nyx who was never seen without sunglasses. You know. Anyway, back to our game. When we left off, we were sitting down to dinner in Castle Raefenheim. 4 whole people in this enormous dining room with a long table. Current semi-official master of the house, Miss Henry Carlisle, seated at one end. Domino seated at the opposite end. Lady Ravenna and Lucy Adwell seated very close to Henry. And it was brought up, among other things, that there was a portrait of the Countess, the last one left in the castle, in a nearby sitting room, and the group was going to go check that out. Shortly before that, the name Ezra Priest came up. A name Ezra had been first heard to Henry Carlisle just earlier that day when a crow decided to just repeat it back a couple of times while Ezra was desperately trying to hide in a wall. So it's all going great for everyone, and as we hop back in, we are going over to the sitting room. Henry leads you all in there as the maids come in and are cleaning up your plates. Some of you notice probably that Henry barely touched her dinner. She did eat some, but she's just she doesn't seem, especially hungry. She seems distracted. As she leads you into that sitting room, it is a room with a number of sure was. There's a number of bookshelves in the sitting room, but only one of them really has anything in it. There's a few books that look like they've been pretty recently placed there, and they're not like in order or even stacked up particularly well. There's like some short stacks. There are some that are on a shelf properly. Other shelves look like they just have nests that some of the birds have made for themselves in here. And there are quite a few of them kind of huddled comfortably in these spaces. There are several chairs over by a cold, empty fireplace. And above that, there is a very, very large, ornate gilt frame that is very tarnished and worn, although it looks like it has just begun to get polished around the edges. That seems to be one of the projects that has started up, but they haven't yet taken it down off the wall, so there's quite a bit of work left. The portrait itself is beginning to yellow a little bit, so it has sort of a haze to it. This is one reason you shouldn't actually keep an oil painting up above a fireplace, as dramatic as it may look. And in the frame is the image of a stern-looking woman. You would guess she is about 30 or so. Oh, interesting. Interesting. We've just been tipped again. Thank you, Brendan. And I'll keep that in mind. The expression on her face is severe, and her eyes are piercing as they look down at you from above the mantle. You see that she has dark black hair and black eyes. At least in the portrait, it seems, is very pale. You can see that there is just the tiniest bit of gray coming in at her temples, even though she looks fairly young. And she is wearing this gorgeous blood red gown. And Henry gestures up at it. Well, there she is, my cousin.
Lady Ravenna's not saying anything, but there might be a tear coming down her eye.
Yeah.
Cheek.
I think Lucy quickly passes you a handkerchief without really saying anything.
I think that after hearing Henry's reaction to their name, Ezra was very shaken, but couldn't help but pursue that to hear what else there was to be said, because that was a very unusual way to react. And it's kind of cursing that they're going into the sitting room, because Take, if you'll allow this, I think that the nook in which Ezra appears into the sitting room is behind the portrait.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the wall has broken down, there's plaster, and so through the sort of hole in the wall itself, you can see sort of the back of the canvas, and those bits where it's yellowed, it almost gets a little transparent, so if she puts her face really up close to the plaster, she can kind of see through it a tiny bit, as though looking through a mesh screen.
If I'll allow
and it's
it.
kind of just watch it. I don't want to assume. But it's like, I think aware that this is a very sensitive moment, but it's like, I gotta know. So it's kind of just like careful, like covering their breath so it doesn't brush the canvas, but it's just kind of like looking, like I'm imagining like the light coming through the canvas, and I'm just like up against it, trying to see what's going on.
There's this long, quiet moment as everyone is just kind of taking in this somewhat imposing portrait by candlelight. And all at once, one of the crows that's on one of the shelves flies over to the mantle. You should have seen this coming.
I guess so.
And lands right in front of the spot that you are looking through and kind of like pokes at it a little bit.
I kind of like pull back, but like have my mouth still covered, and like if the crow can see me through the canvas, I'm just like.
As Lady Ravenna, can I go and try to shoo the crow away from my dear love on the wall?
Lady Ravenna, as you go up to shoo away the crow, it kind of hops away from you on the mantle. And is a little bit closer to the middle of the mantle. And it looks away from you. It pecks its beak at a piece of the frame itself, which seems to break off. And as you go to keep shooing it away, it grabs that piece and flies out of the room.
Oh, you infernal beast! Oh, I'm so sorry, my dear.
This is so good.
If only the Crow Master were here. They seem so talented at keeping these crows in check.
Henry almost makes to chase the bird out of the room, but kind of like pauses and like looks over at Lucy as she speaks, and seems kind of torn, like wants to chase after this bird, but also is like, right, what? And also doesn't necessarily want to leave, you know, the three of you in here, and just while kind of like deciding what to do, looks back at the portrait. And Ezra, it feels like she is looking straight through that thin spot, and you know, for your own, she's looking at the painting, but it feels as though she's looking straight at you.
Henry, maybe I could find Ezra and get the piece of the portrait back.
Quit talking such nonsense about this imaginary creature, Lucy.
It's not an imaginary creature. It's a person that I talk to. Not a child.
Well, I guess we'll have to meet this Ezra priest then, I suppose.
Henry stands a little stiffly and a little awkwardly and is like, well, I'm sure most of the servants have gone home by now, so this Ezra would not be in the castle anymore, I'm sure. I do wonder about that. And she's looking at the broken piece, and is just kind of like, how are we going to repair that? And is just sort of like fretting over the whole situation quietly.
I think I look at I look at Domino and ask if the frame has any significance, since you know about the art.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna walk up to the frame, like where the frame chipped off, and I want to like inspect the painting a little bit, and just kind of like talking, like I'm telling them about the portrait, like I was going to be, just like, oh, you know, the interesting about this is that this red pigment was only discovered shortly before this painting was painted. But it seems that the varnish has been a little stained from the heat. It is curious that the Countess would have placed this painting here, considering what she knew about art preservation. And I just want to like take out my magnifying glass and like see if I can see what's up.
Domino, could you roll curious for me?
Yes.
My brother commented that there have been fewer rolls than he thought there would be. So I probably should be throwing more in, but
We have just been like talking to each other. I think we all just
Chilling,
like each
vibing.
other's characters so much. We're just like, let's just play pretend.
Just chat.
11.
11.
Yeah.
Domino, as you're kind of bullshitting your way through distracting everyone this way, you take your little magnifying glass and you look at the broken piece of frame. Something very odd about it. The broken piece looks distinctly key-shaped.
Wait, does the crow still have the, or is it like a key, like shaped hole left behind?
The piece that was just broken, which is no longer in the room, the crow fully flew out of the room. The like broken out piece of the frame is very key shaped.
Okay, so I am looking to see if the frame is like permanently attached to the wall or if it like can be moved.
You rolled great for curious just a moment ago. So as you're kind of like checking the frame itself, it is pretty well fastened on there. Ezra, you're seeing like a little bit of light coming in at the edges, though.
Yeah.
You are noticing immediately, Domino, that there is some pretty severe damage to the wall itself, and you get the impression that this can come down, but that is partly because it is part of what's holding that piece of wall together.
Can I don't know if Ezra knows the same thing about the wall. Can Ezra like hook their hands on like one corner of it to like seem as though it's stuck? To just like hold it in place to be like, oh, it's not moving.
Like pulling the door closed.
Yeah, like, oh, it's locked. Whoops.
I'll be honest, I feel like I want to make you roll for that a little.
Please do, because if it backfires, problem solved. We know that Ezra's here.
I want so bad for Ezra to be revealed.
Behind a painting. I just don't know what to have you roll.
Could you do like just a contested roll between Ezra and Domino, since Domino's they're both trying to pull it?
Sure. Why don't you... I'm wondering if I want to make them roll the same trait, or just, you could each just roll a die, I suppose. Domino's got a +1 on whatever the roll is.
Domino has a distinct advantage.
Let's see.
Oh
We will,
boy.
probably.
I feel like I want it to be a curious roll from each of you, which also gives Domino an advantage. And they have a +1. So...
Okay, I signed up for this knowing it might backfire, and that's still good. All of it is still good.
Alright, let's
That's a
see.
10 for Ezra.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 +1.
You're fucking joking.
And I
What the fuck?
Ryan.
Truly.
Jesus.
this is
This one's cursed in a good way.
feel free to say no to this, but I do have Declare, which if someone does what I ask, they get a +1.
Yeah.
Which I was thinking of doing. So could I say something to Domino, to say please, reveal the secret. I don't know. Shenanigans. To give Domino.
Reveal the shenanigans, please, Domino.
Yeah. It's fine if the answer is no, because it is not how the role works. But
No. I mean that part's fine. I'm just trying to decide why would Lucy want Domino to figure this out, I guess?
to reveal a secret about the estate?
Yeah, fair point.
Why would Lucy want that when that's
Yeah,
all
no,
she's
you know
doing?
what? I'm an idiot. It's all.
I kind of
it's
also
all
want
right
to
now.
hide the space where the key was, just in case nobody else knows about the key, that there is a key there.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to maybe not pay that much attention to that fact as you kind of wiggle this thing free. And Ezra, sorry, they just have a little bit better purchase on the edge of the frame, and it kind of pulls aside, and it slumps in the wall, breaking open a portion of the wall over the mantle. And I wouldn't worry at all, Domino, because this thing's very big and it's just kind of falling down. I don't think you're going to be able to catch it. So the bottom edge of the frame is considerably more damaged as it hits the ground in front of you and leans up against this cold fireplace. And there is a pretty big hole left in the wall, and Ezra Priest is just standing there looking out at all of you.
I point at Ezra and say, Ezra! No one
And a
believes.
crow behind you goes, Ezra!
Oh my goodness, she's real.
Ezra's frozen. They're so... They have never had this many people looking at them at once in 5 years plus.
Yeah.
They're completely frozen.
The bird keeper, you presume. Why don't you join us out here in the sitting room?
Ezra just kind of looks at the hole in the wall, can I... 1 minute, and we'll just kind of scuttle back behind the wall and come out in the hallway and very, very tensely walk back in the door.
While you're doing that, I think Lucy's just looking around at everyone and being like, well, she must have been chasing a crow into the walls to get something back. That seems like most of what she does. Maybe she got lost. Just this is
Just
totally
gonna walk
normal.
in,
Makes sense.
Fist white knuckles, fist clenched, just hello.
What is Henry doing?
Henry is just looking at Ezra and looks at everyone else and then looks back at Ezra and goes, all right, well, I'll ask the obvious question then, I suppose. Were you chasing a bird back there, or...
No. I was doing a little bit of spying, but only a tiny bit, because I think that they're going to do as firm a foot stamp as they can manage, which is just going to be a little on the ground. Be like, this is the bird's home, and it's very important that it stays their home. And And Lady Corvina, Countess Corvina, was very kind to them. And I would like to think that everyone would be the same, but they can't ask you themselves, so I will. Are you going to let them stay?
Well, you'll find no argument from me, Ezra. So how long have you been working?
This time Henry shoots you a death glare.
Hey, Henry is not taking initiative, okay? I'm the leader now.
Domina's gonna steal the estate and Henry's girl. Everything.
Yeah. So how long have you been watching over the birds here?
Well, I, not very long after the Countess passed on, because I had heard that it happened, and it made me so sad to think that there wasn't anyone here to look after them. And she loved them so much. I thought it was only right to come and make sure that they were okay. And they seemed so happy to have someone around that was giving them treats. So I didn't think it was quite right to leave. So, ever since the Countess died?
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, I've only been around for maybe almost a fortnight, but it's a wonder that Henry hasn't noticed your presence here in the castle.
I try and keep to the birds. I don't take care of the people. I take care of the birds.
I never said I hadn't noticed you at all.
Well, I appreciate you letting me stay. As long as there's someone to take care of the birds, I don't suppose I think Ezra is going to look down at themselves and notice that they're covered in all these baubles, like tense up for a second and say, "Oh no," and start just like pulling them off and like shoving them into Henry's hands. Like, this is yours and these are yours and these belong to you. And I think she'll go for the button necklace and be like, "Well, unless you need buttons on things, I'd like to keep these ones. But this one's for you." And just shove them all into Henry's hands.
She's just kind of like holding this little armload of things.
Oh,
I really figured.
Do let her keep them. I mean, you certainly haven't noticed them missing, and the crows seem to intend them for her.
Well, it was more that I was holding them for whoever really needed them. I think they were trying to give them back to the Countess, but obviously she wasn't here.
Henry looks through a few of the things and is almost like assessing a little bit and goes, "No, I'm not sure I have any use for these. Here. Unless I find something more useful, you hang on to them. Although, she reaches into a pocket and she pulls out the chain that you lost earlier. Do you mind if I keep this one?"
Oh, yes, it's awfully pretty, but yes, that one's for you. Just kind of start reattaching all the baubles.
Lucy, it's a very similar silver chain to the one that your necklace lives on.
I think Lucy. Oh, Henry took it out, right? Was holding it.
Yeah.
I think Lucy, I'd like to have her put her hand, like, to stop Henry from, like, putting it away, to, like, see what it is. Like, you know, like, to kind of, like, take Henry's hand and look at it.
She looks a little bit surprised that you've taken her hand. And the chain itself is this very, very delicate... I'm trying to think of the word for it. My brother, who is a jeweler, is in the chat and is going to be ashamed of me. But it's this very, very delicate silver chain of interlocking rings. And it's not just like a it's not just like a simple like one ring into the other piece. It's a little more intricate than that, and it's very similar to the one that your necklace is on, but it is much brighter. And she looks at you and says, "Well, honestly, I suppose this one is yours anyway."
What do you mean by that? I have one.
Yes, well, unfortunately, I was sort of looking for this one. I couldn't afford a new one. And looks at the chain again. So I'm afraid the one you've been wearing is rather a bit cheaper.
I mean, I charge it all the same, but if you want to swap it out, we could do that now. I go to like take the necklace off.
Well, it's just that this one, was part of an older heirloom of my family's, so. But it went missing some weeks back. And just kind of gestures at the birds.
The birds of it all. I put the lover's eye necklace in Henry's hand, for like them to swap it out if they want to. Yeah. She swaps out the chain, and looks at the other one, and like goes to give you back the lover's eye pendant on this clearly a little more intricate chain that is like clearly real silver also, and is looking at the other one and goes, "Unless you'd like to keep both, I guess. Ezra, do you want a chain again, or?"
Oh, no, I really only keep the things that the birds give me.
Right.
I turn kind of and I say, because Henry just handed me the necklace, and I kind of like hold it out to them. I say, would you mind? I can't quite, and like turn for them to like fasten it for me.
Yeah, she goes to fasten it for you and is a bit slow about it for a moment. Like you turn and there's just this brief pause, and then she reaches over your shoulders and once she's clasped it, she just very gently puts her hand with some reassuring pressure like on your shoulder and gives like the gentlest brief squeeze on your shoulder before kind of like backing away, and puts her hands right behind her back, and
eat red, Lucy, eat red. And then sits down next to Lady Ravenna like nothing happened.
Speaking of, how's Lady Ravenna doing with
She may have had a slight heart attack when the painting came down. But I think she was very aware that there was a keyhole. Or was it a keyhole or the shape of a key?
The hole that was left by the crow pecking at it was key shaped. Like a key had been fit into there as if to hide it.
Oh, okay, but the key is missing.
The key is now missing because...
Okay, because prior to this entry into this room, I thought that Lady Ravenna had a key, but now there's a place to put said key. But I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, to have a key, and come back later and see if it fits.
I mean, you certainly can come back later. I would say that I did already mention that the bottom of this frame is kind of extra fucked up from falling at this point. So the place that was like this key-shaped hole is like not as recognizable as such anymore. So it might be hard to tell when you...
Okay. In her panic, could she go to the painting and do some astute observations of Frame?
Sure. Are you looking to... This is an interesting thing. You could roll Curious to kind of check that out. The other thing you could do that might apply here, so Lady Ravenna is an archetype in the game called the Elder. And the Elder has a move called Reminisce, which might be of use to you in this case. Okay. So it's up to you if you would rather kind of like roll to kind of figure out some stuff about the frame, or if you would rather try and use your archetype move.
Okay. I do think that Lady Ravenna would have some sort of knowledge that the rest of the group wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I like using the idea of the Reminisce, but I don't know if I want to do that in the presence of the rest of the company.
Okay, here's what I would say too. If you were to use Reminisce now to ask me a couple of questions, Lady Ravenna doesn't have to then like share what she thinks of with the rest of the group. So it can be a thing you kind of keep in your head, or we can return to this later.
Okay, let's go ahead and do it now then, I think.
Okay, so the way this works is that you can ask me any 2 questions about the current situation, and I will choose one of them to answer truthfully.
Okay. All right, first question. Is there a secret part of the castle that Lady Ravenna would know about that might be a plot device, useful plot device? Number 2, did the Countess think highly of Ravenna when she was alive, or am I just playing that as like a guise?
Ooh. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Those are 2 very different and very good questions. I think I'm going to answer the first question because I think it is very interesting to me if the second one remains a question that you don't know the answer to. There are many secret parts of the castle that you remember, and some of them are difficult to find. If there was a hidden key, then that says to you, you don't ever remember Corvina having a master key to the place necessarily. She had different keys for different places. So you wouldn't necessarily know what this one particular key would go to, but the fact that it's hidden does definitely say to you that it probably goes to one of those secret places in the castle.
Cool. I think then maybe later she'll come back and look for said key.
Yeah.
But for now, it's going to play damsel in distress.
Yeah, yeah. At a certain point, Henry is just kind of like, oh, we're at that point where all of a sudden it's a very different vibe coming out of the music. There we go. I think that, yeah, Henry is like, well, that has been a bit more excitement than I think we bargained for the evening, and kind of looks between like Ezra and Domino, one for living in the walls and the other for tearing a giant hole in a wall.
Since I'm like kind of near the painting, it's like, it went like inside the wall, or is it still just fell down where I can reach it?
No, it the painting is like down on the floor now. It's like leaned up against the mantle.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any way I can like get the painting out of the frame and roll it up just to like preserve it, since this frame is not gonna work anymore?
Yeah, I think though, if you would make a courteous roll, I think you maybe would have to convince Henry a little bit that you're gonna like take it away, because this is, I mean, you've got a fair argument on your side.
Yeah, you can't rehang it in this frame.
Yeah. But to take this portrait away, I think you will need to convince Henry. No, actually, sorry. I was going to say, I think you have a floating +1 for that, but no, Lady Ravenna has a +1 floating around for courteous right now.
Do for courteous. 8.
8 is a mixed success. I've really painted myself into a weird corner here where I have to think about how a crow is going to make it a little harder to... This is literally the game, is the thing. So you're explaining to Henry, like, you know, I'm gonna take the painting away. Like, it's still on a stretcher, right? Like, you could take the frame off of that, since it's broken pretty easily, and like just carry the portrait away pretty easily. So there is definitely sense to that, and you are going to be able to do that. Like, Henry sees the sense of that for sure. However, I'm going to keep this really simple. As you are trying to get the thing out, you like lay it down to take the frame off. One of the crows just kind of like lands on the painting for a moment, and, as though curious about what you're doing, and you shoo the bird away, and you notice that it has left like a little scratch in the paint. And as upsetting as that is for everyone else in the room for their own various reasons, Domino, you're like, okay, well, now I either have to get that fixed or it's a little less valuable. But yeah, you can just take that away for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so Domino can move the painting out of the room. Boy, oh boy. Okay. Interesting.
Bird fuckery.
I'm really glad I put that as a tip bonus. But also, I gotta really think about what I'm gonna do with that one. I also just fucked up my makeup a little bit. Because I had a reaction. That's good and fine. Okay. I think that Henry at this point is going to suggest that maybe it's time for everyone to get to bed. But is looking over at Ezra and is like, you and I, on the other hand, before bed, may have to have a short conversation about your employment.
As long as it's short.
I can promise you that.
Okay.
I think that probably seeing that everyone else is going to go, Ezra has that sort of interesting moment again where they like take a deep breath, kind of collect some very sort of genuine and like maybe uncharacteristic composure, and extend a very courteous bow to everyone in the room and say,
I hope everyone rests very well.
Yeah. Henry will look over at Lady Ravenna and Lucy and say, Ladies, I apologize for the odd nature of the evening. I believe I need to have a word with Miss Priest briefly, but I will see you in the morning at breakfast, and we can have that tour of the castle. Do either of you need anything from me?
Sorry?
Do either of you need anything from me? Perhaps I could walk you back to your rooms before I...
Oh, you should walk Lucy back. I think she was having a hard time finding her room earlier today.
Henry nods like it's a look of sympathy on her face. It's just like, that can happen, yes.
Yeah, Lucy's just like nodding, like very excitedly, which is like, yeah, Lady Ravenna being a good wingman.
Miss Priest, will I find you here if I am gone for just a few minutes?
Oh yes, I know better than to walk anywhere else in here.
What if Lady Ravenna takes a moment to sip her coffee and says, "Oh, I'll be up," and then just kind of keeps an eye on Ezra in the meantime?
Yeah, Henry just like gives you like a very appreciative nod. Yeah, and she will walk Lucy back to her room while Ezra and Lady Ravenna are left alone in that sitting room.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we doing our Lady Ravenna and Ezra?
I was gonna say I want to leave some space here in case either of those two want to say anything to the other, but
yeah,
Ezra's not gonna initiate, but player Mace would love to see that.
Is Domino also still?
All due respect.
Yeah, did Domino take the painting back, or are they still sticking around?
Yeah, I think I left. I probably said like, oh, I'll see what I can do about restoring this and fitting it with a new frame. And then just saying goodnight to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Well, I can talk to Ezra, I think. How old is Ezra? Do we know?
Ezra looks like a good 10 years older than they really are. I think in actuality they are in their like early to mid 20s, but they look like mid to late 30s. Like Ezra looks a little bit fucked up.
Oh. Okay. Still young to me, probably.
Yeah.
Tell me, young person in the walls.
Yep, that's me.
You probably know this building more than anyone here.
Oh, well, I would like to think so, except it has a way of turning you around. So,
Yes.
No, not all the time.
Well, do you have a favorite place that you like to be? I've found that this place gives me a lot of peace and calm, but some others are a little bit more mysterious.
I quite like being on the upper floors. Not a lot of people go up there because it's so unstable, but I know where to step so I don't fall through. And I like being higher up. It gives me a better view of everything down below, so I know where everything is. I wouldn't recommend going up there, though. You might fall and break everything.
Oh, don't be silly. I can handle myself, and I am very aware of the layout of this house. No need to worry.
Were you a friend of the Countess?
Yes, I was a dear friend of the Countess. We were very intimate and had a lot of care for each other. And the house and these crows, you've been doing such a good job taking care of them.
I think Ezra's gonna like get in like weirdly close, be like,
You like the crows too?
Yes, of course.
The Countess cared about them so much, and I thought it was such a shame that no one else seemed to feel the same way.
Yes,
They really are very, very kind.
I'm glad you've upheld her legacy in this way. I'm not sure I have anything else quite to say at the moment.
All right.
All right. All right.
Oh God, there's a quiet intimidation that radiates off of Lady Ravenna sometimes that I don't quite expect when it happens. Wonderful. Lucy, Henry leads you back to your room, and there is a moment where even she is like, no, it's this way.
Lucy's just not looking at where they're going at all, just looking at Henry. Like, just constantly just looking over at Henry the whole time.
You can tell her brow is kind of like knit. She is deep in thought as you're walking together. There is a lot to consider. She is, for one, thinking about how she's going to deal with this weird situation with a person living in the walls, and concerned about the portrait, and just there's clearly a lot going on in her head, and almost before she even realizes it, your room.
I think the whole time Lucy's just like talking very excitedly about like the trip and like just like all the different things. This is the first time she's really had a chance to talk to Henry, so she definitely notices that Henry's like worried and upset, but it's just like so excited to be talking to her, and so I think Henry like has to cut in to say like, oh, like this is your room, and Lucy just like stops and goes, oh, well, thank you so much for showing me here. I don't know how I ever would have found it on my own, and I'm excited to see more of the castle tomorrow.
Yes.
Hopefully your business won't keep you away.
No, it shouldn't. Lucy, I fear I've been rather cold to you, and I would never want you to think of me that way. It is, I'm afraid, certain dark moods tend to strike me at times, and she looks around the space. Seems I've had a lot of them lately.
Well, now that I'm here, perhaps I can help lighten the moods a bit. Get you outside, taking a walk around the grounds.
And that there's a moment where it looks like that's another thing I have to deal with. But then kind of looks down and smiles. She takes your hand in both of hers, and she says, I hope we will all benefit from the brightness you seem to bring to every space you're in.
Lucy just like puts a hand up to her face, like nods, turns around to just like go into her room, turns back around and just like goes up on her tiptoes, kisses Henry on the cheek, and then runs into the room.
What the fuck?
Henry spends just a beat with her hand on her cheek, and then remembers that now she has to find her way back, and tries to shake off a moment of being flustered, and heads back.
Immediately in her room, getting out her diary, writing furiously everything that has happened today. Yeah.
Wonderful. So Henry goes back to, eventually finds her way back, and gets to where Lady Ravenna and Ezra are waiting. Well, I think we have some things to discuss.
Yes.
I'll take my leave.
I think with less people in the room, like having a now one-on-one conversation, Ezra like loses some tension visibly, but still remains standing. Like doesn't make any move to sit down or anything like that.
Henry just looks at you for a long moment, and then looks at the hole in the wall. You know, it's been a long time since I've been here. The Countess was not a kind woman, as I remember her. I don't believe much of anyone, save perhaps Lady Ravenna, thought of her as such.
Well, I certainly did.
Did you? Why?
Of course I did. I saw the way she looked at the birds. Certainly didn't matter how she... Well, it matters a bit how she treated other people. It's still not very kind, but I think that the birds were better at listening to her than people were. And it was the kindest person that I had ever seen, the way that she spoke to them. So I thought that she was very kind indeed.
Ezra Priest, I do not know you well. There is something about you that makes me very sad, on one hand. And at the same time, you have given the only care that this house has seen in many years. So, I am not going to remove you from this house. I will be as honest with you as I have been with anyone of late. I cannot pay you for taking care of the birds.
Well, no one's been paying me so far, so that's not a big change.
Yes. Well, where have you been sleeping? That was what I wanted to ask.
I think that Ezra is going to like take a very deep breath and like kind of like ball up their fists before like taking 2 or 3 big steps closer to Henry, who I believe was described as very tall, so they're probably like
she's not like enormously tall, but she's fairly tall.
Ezra's like 5 feet on a good day.
Okay, so
and it's like,
If you wouldn't mind, I'm afraid I will need to ask for assurance that the place won't be disturbed. The place where I stay. It's very important.
Of course. I was going to ask if you wanted a room, though.
Oh no, that won't be necessary at all. I stay in the aviary. The birds have no interest in it, but it's very bright. I never wake up late, and it's very high up, and it's they know where to find it, but it's not like they stay there. I don't think they would want me to stay with them anyway. They like their privacy, and so do I.
Right. Well, come with me, please. And she walks out of the room.
I follow her.
And as she walks back into the dining room, she takes hold of this little handle that's set into the wall and pulls on it, and you hear a bell ringing. And moments later, Mr. Pole comes into the dining room and kind of like stops short and looks at you and then looks at Henry. And it looks like he's about to say something, and almost looks like he's about to move towards you. And Henry goes...
Ezra definitely, like, shrinks back.
Henry just puts up her hand and says, Mr. Pole, if you would be so kind, go and fetch Alexander, and I would like the two of you to move a bed into the aviary, please. Thank you. And then just turns away from Mr. Pole, like, does not have another thing to say about it. And there's this moment where Mr. Pole is, like, looks like he wants to ask a question, a follow-up of some kind, and then realizes that's not on the table. And, of course, and just leaves. Right, well, if you're going to stay here and you're going to keep the aviary, since no one else wants to, you may as well have something comfortable to sleep on.
That will be very, very nice. Thank you. How should I address you? This is your house.
It's not. And I don't care. Have a good evening. And Henry...
Oh, wait. Before... If you don't mind, I would like to say thank you. And holds out her hand.
And
Yeah,
she goes to shake your hand back, a little bit confused.
Yeah, I think Ezra gives it like a very, like, surprisingly firm but very, like, steady and gentle shake before putting the other hand over it, saying,
some people are very difficult to understand. And they find it even harder to understand other people. But I think that your cousin held a great deal more regard for you than she was all right with showing. Because if you were around at any point in the last 10 years, then I noticed the crows watching you too. See, they loved everything she did. And if they cared a whit about you, then she must have as well.
does this count as brooding? Could this count as brooding? Still too hopeful for brooding?
I think you're being a little kind for brooding at the moment.
Okay, that's true. I'll brood another time.
Yeah, you can brood later. I want to be clear about those 3 moves for all of you. You can do those at just any old time you feel like it.
Well.
She takes that in, and sort of gives a nod, and good evening, and goes out of the room.
I think Ezra starts to go back to the aviary via the walls, and is like, "Oh yeah,
I'm allowed."
Very cautiously, as though there's like trapdoors everywhere. Like goes down the hall. Like, okay.
So, real quick, I would like a curious roll from Lady Ravenna, Domino, and Ezra.
Ooh. 6.
11.
11.
12.
11 and 12. Interesting. Domino and Lady Ravenna, you have no trouble getting back to back to
Should've gone
your
through the
rooms.
walls. Fuck.
Ezra, maybe it's the fact that you have not for quite a while now really been able to just walk around the halls of this place. But you have trouble finding the aviary, and you find yourself, wandering around. And every time you think you know where you need to go, you find yourself a bit frustrated by the attempt. And at a certain point, it is getting quite late, and you are getting quite tired. And you cannot seem to find your way back to this room, which now has a bed for you.
Is it silly to ask if there's a crow nearby? Because of course there is.
Always are.
Awesome. If I have any more little treats in my pocket, I'd like to put a couple of them in my palm because I'm kind of trying to get back in a major way, and offer them to one of the crows nearby and say,
I know you don't like it there, but it's really just for me. Please. It's kind of like I have a job now.
Could you make a courteous roll for me?
I would love to. Ooh, that's a 12.
A 12?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. The crow quickly takes the treat and kind of starts leading you in a direction. Yeah, I mean, you stated your intention and you rolled crazy good, so you eventually are brought back to the aviary, and you you breathe a sigh of relief, because I think you've probably slept in different parts of the castle before, and have found it to be true that in fact often you'll have terrible dreams when you're not in the place that you kind of make yours in here. The bed is already in here, and it's just kind of in the middle of the room. Like the servants were like, I guess we'll just put it here. It's not really set up like a bedroom. And as you go over to the bed, very tired from this strange and stressful day that you have had, you notice that there is something sitting on the pillow. And there is a small brass key, the back of which is sort of shaped like a it's a small rectangle, but it's carved like there is a little circular thing on one side and these shallow lines etched into this rectangle. And when you hold it up and look at it, it looks like a door.
I look at it. Could I roll curious to see if I can identify the material as being similar to the frame from earlier tonight?
I don't think you need to roll for that.
Okay, cool.
It is a brass key. And as you hold it in your hand, a little bit of slightly shiny paint comes off on your fingers. And it's just a simple brass key, but it was painted to be a little bit closer to gold.
This is a funny little trinket.
I think that Ez was gonna put it on their button necklace and then undress for the night, and I think look very gratefully at the bed, give it a pat, but just kind of lay her outer clothes on it very neatly and go and sleep in what is ultimately just a big pile of cushions and down and moth-eaten blankets that she's just scavenged from the house and made into a nest. The entire aviary as well is just strewn with things that the birds have brought her for 10 years, and it looks like a kid's treehouse.
With that, you have all found your places of rest, and you turn in for the night. It being a stream, this isn't normally how I would phrase a thing like this. However, it is 9:15. We've been going for almost 3.5 hours. We had all previously talked about if this is where the story led us, maybe breaking this into a couple of parts. And we've really only had a couple of clues drop in. Should we? I feel like that's a very, very nice place to call this and look for another time to play more of this game. How do you all feel?
I want to play more of this game so bad.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, please.
It's a lot of fun.
Great. That is where we will end it. Thank you all so much for playing with me. And thank all of
Thank you
you.
for hosting.
Killing it.
Killing it.
If
I
there...
put in one scrawl this whole time.
What?
I know, it seems silly.
Just
Here we go.
everybody...
I'm gonna do as many as I can.
Yeah. Just get them in.
Yeah, Ezra the Crow Master.
The crows are applauding you for your promotion.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you all again. Thank you, chat. This has been so much fun. I wrote this game a while ago, and this is the first time I've gotten to play it, actually. And so I'm very glad that I get to play it with all of you.
It's so good.
Oh,
This
thanks.
game
It's
is so
really,
good.
really good.
If anyone watching would like to check out this game and has not previously, you can find it. It's been in chat and stuff at my itch.io page. Yeah, great. We will. I will, whenever we figure it out, I'll announce that we're going to play again. And yeah, if any of you have things you would like to plug here at the end, feel free. And say who you've been up to this point. We'll just do this in the same order that we did on the first round of introductions. So Taylor, Arielle, Xaverie, Mace.
I have been Taylor and will continue to be. And if you thought that I was fun on this stream, I do tabletop streams on my own. Sometimes Tag is there, sometimes actually a lot of these people, sometimes they're also there, which is Roll for Felicity, twitch.tv/Roll for Felicity. You can also follow me on Twitter at Roll for Felicity, and you can watch a previous limited series of Good Society that all of us were on YouTube. I got the same username on everything. And I have a couple one-shots coming up. One of them is Mouse Ritter, which is going to be on Wednesday, and then a week from today, I'm going to be running a game of Basic Witches over on my channel. And that's it.
Fantastic.
I'm Arielle, and I am being Lady Ravenna, and same as what Taylor said, if you like this, her work with the Good Society was really awesome. We had a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this. Tag, killing it. Thank you. Guess we'll just plug you because you're important. I don't have anything else to plug, but I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's partly my fault that that's happening, but there is some there's some stuff happening with my internet connection.
Cursed. Stream's cursed.
Just at the very end, though, so I'll take it, to be honest.
Stream's haunted.
Yeah. Stream's haunted.
Oh, boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Should we continue outros?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Okay.
There we go. It sounds a little better now, anyway.
All right. I'm Xaverie, also Xaverie on Twitter. Of course, I gotta shout out to Peeps.
Peeps!
And I don't have anything to plug, but if anyone is playing Final Fantasy XIV and wants to hang out with me, I'm on the Crystal Data Center, and my character name is Cashley Banks. So I love that.
Oh my god.
I have been Mace. I have also been everyone's favorite little rat, Ezra Priest. Having a great time with this. And my Instagram is also Mason Jar Jenkins, like my name on Twitch. My poetry, I think, will be too difficult to explain in words, so just follow that on the little player blurb. But feel free to follow that. And yeah, thank you. This is a riot. I love this.
Great. I was going to try and find someone to raid, but honestly, since my computer is mad at me and I haven't figured out how to make raids happen smoothly, and also I don't know who's online, some of the people I would raid, namely Taylor, is right here, so I know you're not streaming. So I think we're just going to go ahead and end... Oh, Goblin is streaming. Shit.
Goblin is streaming.
Dang it.
I wonder if can mods do the raid command, or it's only the streamer.
I don't know.
Let me try it, because I know how to raid.
I can like do
might
it
not let me.
in chat. It's just that like it doesn't then bring up my stuff, so I can't see what's happening. So I've just silently raided when that happens.
Do you want me to try to see if I can?
I'll just set it up. I think I know Goblin's handle well enough for that to work. Great. Again, I've been Tag. Thank you all so much. Sorry for this weird, clunky end of the stream. And we will see you next time when we finish up this game of Raefenheim. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Now just 10 seconds of us awkwardly sitting here as the raid makes itself happen.
Everyone freeze like we just like our cameras just
Oh, yeah.
froze.
Just do it. Just do the raid.
Yay!
Woo!
It happened.
We did it. Oh my goodness.
I almost put felicitations in the raid, but that's not the right raid. It's the wrong raid message.
I'm just gonna put my face in here a bunch.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I can't find your face.
Gonna drop some twisted jokes in the chat.
Twisted jokes.
Oh, sorry, no, that's the name of one of Tim's emotes. God, I need to figure out a better way of saying that.
There, it's all fine.
It's never mind.